Any disappointment with Drew Petrie given that incident?
Oh, I think Drew's really disappointed with himself, and we've had a quick conversation. I think it speaks for itself. As our vice captain, he let himself down, he let the team down, and he responded to a pretty minor incident with a pretty foolish response himself. So he cops his right whack.
Will he be in the coach's box on Friday night?
Yeah, he will be. He will be. As he holds a really important leadership position in our club, and look, if there is a silver lining from something like this, it's hopefully he gets a different perspective on the game, which will help him on field.
Got a few options to come back in to replace him. Is Aaron Black the most logical at this stage, given his performance last week?
He's one of the mix. Mason Wood was an emergency last week. He's been in really good form in the VFL. Lindsay Thomas obviously is a capable forward. Hopefully we'll get Robin Nahas back, but it'll take training to decide that. Hansen, has been a really flexible player for us in the past. So we've got a lot of options, and we'll just have to have a look at the mix, see who's available, and make a call with what's best for the team.
Have you been pleased by Aaron's form recently in the VFL? Seems to have gone certainly up.
Yeah, he's been steadily improving all year. After shoulder surgery on an injury that really hampered him last year. So we know what Aaron's capable of, and we've been reluctant to bring him in until he's rediscovered his best form. But he's been really encouraging in the VFL, really hard to defend, and he's certainly an AFL player.
Has he coped well this year? He's obviously been a regular player the last couple of years. Probably been I imagine a tough year for him, but has he coped well?
Well, he has. I mean, his responses in the VFL have spoken for themselves. And look, it's always very difficult for players when they're less than 100%. And he has been a little bit restricted in the early part of the year, but he's now fully fit, and his form's reflecting that. So, we've got a fortunate situation where we've got a couple of guys who can come in, and that creates pressure for selection, and we'll keep looking at the best forward mix.
Do you think Boomer's got the message after being vested last week?
Oh, look, we can only, again, base those sort of opinions on evidence, and the evidence suggests that he played his role perfectly for the team. He's been really energetic and really upbeat around the club, and I think he's sent a great message to the rest of the players in the fact that I think coaches can often say, look, the sub role is a really important role. And I think it's really hard to convince players of that, because they hear your words, but I think they think, well, it's probably the 22nd man, it's probably the guy who's a bit unlucky. No one wants to take the role, but I mean, the fact is Boomer came on and played really well, and we think the sub can be a weapon for us going forward. So we don't rule out using him in that role again, and we don't rule out using other senior players in that role.
Could be this week as well, the sub this week?
Yeah, it could be. It could be. I mean, we've got to give real consideration to it. It's also a tool for management for someone of his age. So, whether he plays the sub this week or not, I'm not really sure yet. But he's certainly a candidate to do it, and the way he performed the role was really important.
Big chance for you guys to get ahead in terms of the win-loss ledger for the first time this season?
Yeah, it is. I mean, we've been in this position a lot, though. I mean, we've lost the game and dropped behind in the ledger, and then squared it up pretty quickly. So this is not new to us, and the response has been poor up until this point. So we've got a really strong focus on making sure that we do what's required, and we play the way we want to play consistently, and that's clearly been a challenge for us over the last couple of years. So Bess has been pretty good, but we've let ourselves down at other times. So we can talk about it more if you like, but I mean, we just got to get it done.
Are you confident the response will be the right one, or is it more hopeful given the evidence of this season in particular?
No, I'm not confident, because I think if you're confident of that, you breed complacency, and I'm certainly not complacent. I've got to make sure the players aren't complacent. And to be honest, I mean, our performances this year, complacency shouldn't be something that we have an issue with. So we'll keep driving the standard that we want, and we'll look for the evidence that players can give us to get the right results.
Was the defensive intensity last week, Brad, the most pleasing part of the performance?
Look, I thought it was a pretty good all-round performance, but there's no doubt that your intent in the contest spills over to other parts of your game. So that's where the game always begins and ends for us. If we have the right intent, then we usually get the result. But that mindset or intent is a bit intangible. We're looking for tangible actions to make sure we get the result we want.
What was your reaction when you found out about Hurdy's accident Monday night?
Oh, when it rains, it pours. You know, I feel for him. I mean, he's been through a lot, and you know, it's after recent events or events of 2015. You know, it's just you hope for the best in these sorts of things. So, you know, I hear he's okay. You know, I hope he is. But you know, the bloke's been through a lot, and I think that if there is one thing for Hurdy, I think things can only get better from here.
Lindsay Thomas likely to come back in this week, Brad?
Well, he played well in the VFL. I thought he was defended pretty strongly by Hawthorn's affiliate side in Box Hill, but he did the things that we were asking him to do, and he's a class quality player, and he'll be in contention. But I think it's going to be pretty hard to make too many changes to the side that performed on the weekend.
I know you didn't do it for these reasons, but do you think the fact Lindsay was dropped and Brent started as sub did send a pretty powerful message to the rest of the playing group?
I think that's probably something worth asking them. I can only say explicitly that you know, we didn't make those decisions to make any statements. We made those decisions based on the performance of our players and what we thought was going to give us the best chance of winning. And while historically Boomer and Lindsay have been just terrific performers for us, you know, they hadn't performed to the level over the last few weeks. So, you know, I think that what that tells you is that everyone else in the 22 knows that, you know, regardless of reputation or historical performance, it's what you're doing right now that'll get you a spot on the side.
Lockie Hansen and Robbie Nahas, Brad, are they likely to be fit this week?
Yeah, they should be. It'll really depend on how they train today. I think they're you know, I expect them to get through training. So the guys who missed, Hansen, Nahas, should be available. But you know, I think one thing I've really seen this year is that when you have players who declare themselves fit to play based on the condition they've played in previous years, they think they can get by on that. And Lockie, by his own admission, thought he was right to play against the Gold Coast, and his performance suggested that he just wasn't. So if he's in any doubt, we won't play him.
Just your take, Brad, on the AFL's, I suppose, decision on the rough conduct guidelines for tackling this week?
Oh, look, I was really appreciative of all the dialogue and all the dialogue between Mark Evans and the clubs. I think he took a really considered approach to reviewing the decisions that have been made around the tackle. And look, there are people like the MRP. I mean, there are people who are charged with the responsibility of making those decisions. And you know, I thought it took a really mature, or Mark took a really mature approach to reviewing that. And you know, I stand by the decision he makes. But you know, what I was most pleased with is that he's prepared to stand up and say we got it wrong. He took 3 or 4 weeks to really analyse and consider it, and then made an informed decision. So, you know, that's all we can ask of the people in charge.
Beautiful. Thanks, Brad.